I will present best practices of internal policies as developed by digital native media organizations across Europe. When I say digital native, I mean those who started online and who still primarily publish most of their content online. So when compared, for example, to BBC editorial, BBC charter or editorial guidelines, these internal policies are quite young because these organizations are also young. The oldest of them that we have in the directory was established in 2001. So this means that they inherited all of that was developed before in relation to code of ethics and editorial guidelines, but they were also able to somehow tweak it a little bit, sometimes in a completely different direction to better suit conditions of their establishment, their mission, vision, and their values. So I will use as case studies examples from Project Oasis Media Directory. So first, what's Project Oasis? Just briefly, it's a research into sustainability, innovation, and impact of digital native media in 44 European countries. We have produced narrative report featuring trends and challenges for this media sector, and also this media directory that I'm pulling case studies from. We have more than 500 media organizations across Europe in this media directory. Each of them is presented with detailed media profile with their mission, types of coverage, team structure, revenue models, etc. Armenia is also part of this research, and Armenian part of the research was beautifully done by our moderator, Armen. So you can find on projectoasis.com, you can find Armenia country profile, media in the directory, as well all the other media featured in this directory. As part of this research, so for each country we had a national researcher who did detailed interviews with media founders. One section of these interviews was specifically concerned with internal policies. So we asked questions about these 9 internal policies. The question was, did they develop and do they publish these policies on their websites? So first one about financial transparency. Do they publish name of the donors, their annual revenue? Do they have and publish ethics policy, data privacy policy, whistleblower policy, complaints policy, sexual harassment or institutional violence policy, if they are signed up to press regulator, and if they publish up-to-date information about members of their team. So when looking at Europe at large, these are some percentages just to see what's the distribution of these policies across Europe. As you can see, most of the media organizations publish up-to-date information about their team concerning ethics, code of ethics. 77% of the organizations that answer this question have and publish on their website their code of ethics. Data privacy policies are also well developed, but this is due probably to European regulation, and the least developed is whistleblower policy, as well as sexual harassment or institutional violence policy. Related to Armenia, we have 19 media outlets in our media directory. Of course, there is many more media organizations in Armenia, but we had certain set of criteria. They needed to be digital native, as well as independent public interest media organizations. As you can see, Armenia scores very well when compared to Europe at large. 89% of media organizations have developed a code of ethics. Most of them have up-to-date information about their team members, and most of them publish names of their donors on their website. So this was just a brief overview, and let's go now through a few of the case studies from our media directory. First one, Denik N. So there is Denik N in Slovakia, and there is also Denik N in Czech Republic, which was co-founded by this one from Slovakia. So Denik N in Slovakia and Czech Republic, both very successful media organization. This one from Slovakia is actually outlier in European, not only in Slovak, but in European media landscape, and it's one of the most successful media organizations that we have in the directory. Its team, it's more than 100 of the full-time journalists employed. They have more than 80,000 websites subscribers. So, and they are leading a news site in Slovakia. They were established after a group of 50 journalists left daily newspaper SME after this one was acquired by a group with ties to by oligarchic, basically, group with ties to politicians. So they wanted to have independent media organization that it's adequate to their editorial vision that could enable greater journalistic independence. And this condition of their establishment is basically built in also in their code of ethics. So for them, the things that are very important is like clear and transparent ownership structure. They have everything on their site, including the agreement between initial shareholders. They also, they're very much focused on financial transparency. So for example, each 3 months, they send detailed report and communicate with their readers what's happening with finances, how many subscribers they have, etc. They are also focused on editorial transparency, and also within this each 3-month communication that they communicate their editorial position and their editorial plans with their readers. Their code of ethics is pretty standard one. They are member of Slovak Association for Protection of Journalistic Ethics, and all the organizations that are part of the association actually abide to the same code of ethics. And here you can file all the standard things as accuracy, impartiality, clear separation of news and opinion, anonymous sources used to a minimal extent, rigorous protection of their own sources, even when the state is asking about data, about the names of their sources. Moving now from Denik to Bristol Cable is pioneering investigative media cooperative. So it was established with the goal to confront a lack of trust that local community had towards mainstream media, and this lack of trust was actually was a result of low representation of local community and their needs in mainstream media. What's special about Bristol Cable? That they are media cooperative, and they are owned by more than 1,000 people, like regular people in Bristol. And this also reflects in their code of conduct. Their code of ethics is not as standard and as traditional, for example, as the one from Denik N. So they say that their main principles are creating ethical journalism, remaining community focused, and through that work holding power to account and creating change. So they are much more on community, social values side than on the side of, for example, impartiality and neutrality. In their code of ethics, they also not only mentioned, but they are focused on democratic governance and democratic structure of Bristol Cable. So as I said, they have 1,000 members, and all these 1,000 members are also members of their annual General Assembly. And within this General Assembly, They can vote and they themselves can become non-executive board members that have a saying in deciding where the outlet will go in the future. So this means that this is not classical editorial independence, but that members can actually influence editorial strategy and the content of media outlet. Now moving, I hope, to Fumasa, Portugal. Fumasa, Portugal, Fumasa means smoke, also more on the side of social and media activism than traditional editorial and journalistic standards. They are independent, they call themselves independent, progressive, and dissident investigative journalism podcast. They are registered as non-profit. They exist only for a few years, but they were already awarded around 15 different journalist awards. They have code of ethics, and they say that they do not believe in the existence of neutral journalism, but they believe that they can confront this impossibility of neutrality and impartiality with clearly exposing any subjectivities, biases, and conflict of interest that might exist. They assume collective editorial and operational responsibility for Fumasa, so they don't have specific management board, but journalists basically decide about the fate of the outlet and organization. Main thing in their code of ethics is radical editorial and financial transparency. When I say financial transparency, so they published, which is quite unusual, they not only published the names of all the donors, but they published all contracts that they signed with any type of private or public institution. For example, in this transparency section, you can find all the contracts that they signed. First one is, for example, with Rosa Luxemburg Stiftung. After that, you can also download their contract agreement with European Commission. This is a Creative Europe program. So for me, this is great because it's not only very radical financial transparency, but it also helps others in the field. For example, if one day you want to sign, and Armenia, I think it's eligible country for Creative Europe program, you can go through full grant agreement and basically better prepare yourself. Fumasa is also radically transparent editorially, so they regularly communicate with their readers, for example, why they choose to cover certain stories, why they choose a specific angle, why they choose specific interviewees. ONG from Georgia. ONG from Georgia, this is a brand, and under this brand there is a news site, magazine, digital agency, etc. So different products and services under the same brand. ONG was established to be first technically smooth, visually modern, and first commercially profitable media outlet in Armenia. As you probably know, Georgia, much like Armenia, is donor-dominated country. That's why I'm emphasizing that they wanted to be first commercially profitable media outlet in Georgia. Related to their code of ethics, so they have supervisory board that appoints editor. This supervisory board also gives advice to editorial. For example, when they are doing some complex investigations and when there are complex ethical issues involved, and this supervisory board is also responsible for final stage of the complaints submitted by the readers. ONG code of conduct is very detailed, similar to CivilNet that will be presented later on. Main things are impartial and ethical news coverage, of course, truth, accuracy, and fairness in reporting, and special section is actually dedicated to conduct of journalists. For example, ONG doesn't forbid journalists to participate in election, to vote on the referendums, but they warn their own journalists never to jeopardize their own neutrality, unbiasedness, and impartiality. Okay, my next example was supposed to be CivilNet from Armenia because they are also part of our directory, but to be fully transparent about my editorial process, only at airport I realized, but CivilNet is together with me on the panel, so I will definitely skip CivilNet now. I chose them probably for the same reason as organizers, because they have really the most detailed code of ethics, which is built on their vision, mission, and values. To conclude all of this, I hope only from these few case studies that you could see that there is sort of a difference between those who are for-profit and those who are non-profit. Of course, not everybody. There are non-profit that combine editorial and journalistic standards with, let's say, social, with being on the side of social justice. But mostly, if I need to generalize, non-profit in our directory are more on this side of community building and social justice, while those who are for-profit, their code of ethics feature more of these traditional values as truth, accuracy, fairness, unbiasedness, and etc. But to conclude, internal policies of independent digital media are in strong correlation with the conditions of their establishment and with their mission, and as I said, with their organizational status and business models. If I have just one more minute, two more things that we found during research is also that those who are founded by women feature more transparency, have developed more internal policies than the others, and those also those who have all 9 policies that we asked them, this is also in strong correlation with their income. Those are more favored by donors. So we asked specifically only about 9 internal policies, but many of these media have developed different additional policies. For example, Bristol Cable also has ethical fundraising policy or ethical advertising policy. So I will end with this, and maybe we can leave threats to editorial independence and internal policies for the discussion. Thank you very much for listening. Looking forward to your questions.
Thvapatum.